Exosuits should be the ultimate get out of jail stratagem. High cooldown, only 3 uses, so they should feel powerful. But right now, they don't pay you back for the price you're paying. Here's what's broken and what would actually fix them. First, what are exosuits in Helldivers 2? Exosuits are basically one-man vehicles, mechanized frames you pilot. They are designed to take more punishment than a normal diver and dish out more firepower. Right now, there are 2 variants. The Exo 45 Patriot, rockets on the left arm, minigun on the right, and the Exo 49 Emancipator, dual autocannons on both arms. You call them in like any other stratagem. The Pelican drops them in. But here's the catch. Long cooldown, only 3 uses per mission, and you can only bring 1 exosuit type with you per mission. Once they land, you climb in, and you're set to fight. While in an exosuit, you are not exposed. The exosuit takes the damage. You move roughly at the same speed as a sprinting Helldiver. Unlocking them is trivial. From level 25, you can buy them at the ship management terminal for 20,000 requisition slips. I asked the community what they think. On YouTube, I ran a poll. The majority voted that exosuits feel underpowered on high difficulty. About a quarter think they're balanced, and basically nobody thinks they're overpowered. But Reddit told a more nuanced story. Some players say exosuits are powerful firing platforms, but too fragile to be treated like tanks. Others argue they're great in many situations, but struggle heavily against bots. And a lot of people describe them as highly situational. What stood out to me is this: players who treat exosuits like a temporary power spike, like an orbital laser with legs, seem much happier with them than players expecting a permanent armored vehicle. So instead of picking a side, I tested them myself. All of this was done on Super Helldive difficulty, because that's where loadout efficiency actually matters. I tested both exosuits, the Exo 45 Patriot and the Exo 49 Emancipator. I ran them against Terminids, Automatons, and the Illuminate, since performance varies heavily between factions. I didn't just test them in one situation, I used them in raise the flag missions, objectives where you have to move more, hive worlds, jungles, and dense city maps. I also looked into how their armor actually works and cross-checked my findings with the wiki. Here's what I found. First, where they shine. As many Reddit comments pointed out, exosuits are not long-term vehicles. They're short bursts of overwhelming firepower, and that makes them perfect for raise the flag objectives. Everything that spawned got deleted instantly, but by the time the objective ended, the ammo was gone. When they work, they really work. Hive worlds were another standout, especially caves. You can't bring sentries inside. No orbital strikes, no air support, but you can walk in with an exosuit, and that's a massive advantage. They perform best against Terminids, they're decent against the Illuminate if you stay aware, and they struggle the most against Automatons. More on this later. And if you bring them to the bot front, you need to drop them early and snipe turrets from a distance, otherwise they won't last. I was also surprised by jungles and cities. Navigation looked like it would be a problem, but it really wasn't. In jungles, they bulldoze through trees. In cities, they step over obstacles better than you'd expect. They're also strong as a shield for a limited amount of time. If you're out of ammo or overwhelmed, the exosuit absorbs the damage while you flee and prevents ragdolling. So yes, there are scenarios where exosuits feel powerful, but that's only half the story. Now let's talk about where exosuits fall apart. The best case scenario looks like this. There are a lot of enemies, you go in, burn through your ammo in about a minute, and then you get out. The worst case scenario is that your arms get shot off before you even fire a single shot. Because of this, you can't really be an exosuit main player on higher difficulties. You can only use them in specific situations, because once the ammo is gone or the arms are destroyed, the mech becomes completely useless. Enemies also treat exosuits like a priority target. Even if nobody is inside, they will start attacking it immediately. That means you can't really leave it nearby to take a break or reposition. And because of that, the 3 use limit and the long cooldown start to feel extremely punishing. Earlier, we talked about how exosuits perform well against Terminids, especially on Hive worlds, but even there, you can still get one-shot by a Hive Lord if you're unlucky. The real problems start against ranged factions, Automatons, and sometimes the Illuminate. Ranged enemies can snipe your arms off very quickly, and this became even worse after the Bastion update. When Arrowhead introduced the Bastion tank, they also increased durable damage on several automaton enemies. Durable damage mainly affects sentries and vehicles, which includes exosuits, and their armor doesn't help much either. Their arms and legs only have light armor, which means almost everything in the game can damage them. If the arms are gone, you can't shoot. If a leg is destroyed, the entire vehicle is gone. The community also pointed out something interesting. The in-game description says exosuits are heavily armored, which simply isn't true. The arms and legs are lightly armored, and the torso has medium armor. Combine the light armor, the durable damage buffs, and the limited ammo, and you start to see the full picture. Okay, so what's actually wrong, and how could Arrowhead fix it? The first major issue is exosuit limbs. Right now, the arms and legs are simply too fragile. I won't throw out exact numbers since I'm not a developer, but the current setup doesn't match how these machines are described in the game. Personally, I would change every part of the exosuit to medium armor and adjust the in-game description to match that. On top of that, I would slightly increase the health pool of the limbs and give the torso a small health bump as well. That alone would already make exosuits feel much more reliable without turning them into tanks. The next problem is the 3 deployment limit. Right now, if you make a single mistake, you might waste one of your only 3 mechs for the entire mission. I would remove the deployment limit completely, even if it means increasing the cooldown. If you can call down a tank unlimited times during a mission, there's no real reason why exosuits should be restricted to only 3 uses. Another issue is ammo economy. Even when everything goes well, you often burn through all your ammunition in a very short time. Increasing the ammo dramatically would probably make them too strong, so instead, I would introduce a new stratagem, something like vehicle ammo supply. This stratagem could refill ammunition for FRVs, the Bastion tank, and exosuits. That way, if someone really wants to run a mech-focused playstyle, they can do it, but they would have to sacrifice another stratagem slot to support it. And finally, there's the problem of what happens after the ammo is gone. Right now, once the weapons are empty, the mech becomes almost useless. So I would add a final mechanic to give it a meaningful last use. One option could be a self-destruct mode that ejects the player and causes the exosuit to explode, dealing significantly more damage than the normal destruction explosion. Another idea would be a melee or stomp mode, where the mech permanently disables its arms, loses some health, but gains stronger stomp attacks against nearby enemies. This would allow the exosuit to remain useful even after its weapons are depleted. So, what's the verdict? Exosuits are not useless. In the right situations, they can be incredibly powerful. When everything lines up, they feel exactly like what they are supposed to be, a sudden burst of overwhelming firepower. But right now, their cost doesn't match their impact, especially on higher difficulties, if you take into account mistakes beyond your control. They are too fragile in key areas, too limited in deployment, and once the ammo runs out, they quickly lose their purpose. None of the changes we talked about would make exosuits overpowered. They would simply make them feel reliable, flexible, and worth the stratagem slot. And honestly, that's exactly what they should be. But I'm curious what you think. Are exosuits fine the way they are, or do they need changes? Let me know in the comments what you would change. If you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing for more Helldivers guides and breakdowns. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.